Room 616. Lena Tran didn't want to work nights. She was only a second-year nurse, floating between departments at Holloway Regional, but they'd called in a favor. Short-staffed. Psych ward. Overnight. It's calm, the floor supervisor had said. Mostly sleep meds and charting. No new admits. That wasn't true. Because room 616 had a new patient. Lena first noticed the room because it wasn't listed on her rounds. Rooms 601 through 615 were all there. 616 was skipped. She assumed it was under maintenance. Until she walked past it and saw the light on inside. The door had no nameplate. No clipboard. No chart. But it was ajar. She peeked inside. The room was off. Same layout. Same hospital bed. But the air felt colder, the whites more yellowed. The floor stand was unplugged. There was a man in the bed. Thin. Gray-haired. Eyes wide open. Staring at the ceiling. He turned to her slowly. Smiled. "Did they send you back again?" She backed out quickly, unsure if she'd made a mistake. There was no Mr. Beck, or anyone else, assigned to room 616. She asked the ward clerk. The clerk just frowned. "We don't have a 616, she said. "I just came from it," Lena insisted. The clerk paused. "You didn't go inside, right?" "I just looked." The clerk's face fell. And then she said, "Well, don't go in again." That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She searched the hospital's internet for room 616. Nothing. Then she searched old archived floor plans. There it was. Room 616, listed as patient observation/isolation, decommissioned. The note beside it. Closed indefinitely. Do not assign. Do not engage. If occupied, notify admin. It was last updated 12 years ago. The next night, Lena was floated back to the same ward. Again, 616 wasn't on her sheet. Again, the light was on. But this time, the door was shut. And taped to it was a handwritten note. No entry, contained. She ignored it. Not out of recklessness. Curiosity. Something deeper. A kind of pull. Like gravity. Inside, the man was sitting up. Same bed. Same smile. "You're early this time," he said. "We haven't started the story yet." She tried to play along. "What story?" He looked almost sad. "The one where you try to save me. And I try to warn you." She checked the vitals monitor. It wasn't plugged in. Nothing was. He had no no ID bracelet. But the machine still beeped. Still pulsed. Steady rhythms for a man already pale as paper. He told her his name was Peter Ellison. He said he had once been a psychiatrist. That the room used to be his. "I asked to be kept here," he said. "It's the only way to be safe. From the rest of the hospital." Lena laughed nervously. "You mean from the patients?" "No," Peter whispered. "From the hospital itself." He spoke in circles. About forgotten wings. Rooms that change numbers. Nurses who walk out of rooms that haven't existed in 20 years. He said Holloway had too many ghosts, and not enough doors. "The hospital remembers everyone," he said. "But it can't always keep them in the right places." Lena left the room when he started humming. It was a children's lullaby. One she hadn't heard since her mother died. She hadn't told anyone about it. The next day, she checked his name. No Peter Ellison in the system. Not now. Not ever. Not as a doctor. Not as a patient. She found an old photo on the wall near the psych ward break room. Hospital staff from 1978. One figure had been scratched out. Only the nameplate remained. Dr. P. Ellison, Director, Mental Health Services. She printed the photo. Brought it to room 616. Showed him. He didn't look surprised. He just asked, "Would you like to see the rest of the floor?" Lena followed him. Out the door. Into a corridor that wasn't there the day before. It smelled like iodine and burnt hair. All the lights were off, except one at the far end. A sign above it, Wing C, Shadow Observation. They walked past doors with no handles. Rooms filled with beds wrapped in plastic. Some of them, occupied. She saw a boy with a clipboard drawing the same face over and over. A woman rocking in an enforced stand, even though she was tied down. A nurse walking in loops, hitting the same corner again and again. Peter whispered, "Some of us stayed too long. Some of us never left." When they returned to room 616, Peter sat down again. He looked tired. "Can I ask you something?" Lena said. He nodded. "Why me?" "You heard the lullaby," he said. "That means part of you remembers." "Remembers what?" He reached into the drawer beside his bed. Pulled out a bracelet. Her name. Her birthday. Admit date, June 12, 2005. Discharge, not applicable. Lena stumbled back. I'm not a patient." He looked at her sadly. "You were. Long ago. You wandered out. They let you believe you were staff. It was easier that way. Happier." Her hands shook. "I work here," she insisted. "I have an apartment, a cat, Peter didn't argue. He just said, "Room 616 doesn't give second chances, Lena. You came back." It noticed. She tried to leave. Ran to the elevator. But every floor button was dark. Except one. 6.1.6. She pressed it. And the doors opened to the same hallway. The same smell. And Peter waiting at the end, humming the lullaby. Some say Holloway closed years ago. Others say it still runs skeleton crews on night shift. But if you ask too many questions, you might find yourself on the wrong side of the ward. Or worse. You might hear your name over the intercom. Asking you to return to room 616. Because your treatment was never completed. And the hospital remembers everyone. Even you. Room 616, Part 2, The Patients Who Stayed. Lena didn't remember leaving the elevator. But she found herself back at her station. Same hallway. Same fluorescent buzz. Everything looked normal. Except, the clock on the wall had stopped. 2:16 a.m. And the second hand was ticking backward. She tried to call her supervisor. The line rang. But the voice on the other end wasn't her supervisor's. It was Peter's. "You have to make a choice now." "What choice?" "Do you want to wake up, or do you want to stay where it's safe?" Then silence. The line went dead. She turned around. And saw herself at the end of the hallway. Standing perfectly still. Wearing her same scrubs. Same ID badge. But the other Lena's eyes were wide open. Too wide. No blinking. And then she smiled, way too much teeth. The lights flickered. And she was gone. Lena ran. Tried to get to the psych ward exit. It wasn't there. The hallway stretched. Looped. She passed room 609 3 times. Each time, she looked inside. Each time, the bed was empty. Until the fourth time, when someone was standing in it. Peter. Holding a mirror. When she looked in, her face wasn't her own anymore. Back at room 616, the door was open again. Inside, the room was full of people. Not patients. Not staff. Just versions of her. Sitting. Crying. Scrubbing the same corner of the floor. One version was older. Face gaunt. Eyes ringed in purple. She was whispering over and over. "We never left. We only forget. We never left. We only forget." Peter sat among them. Looking tired. Hollow. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Room 616 is where the hospital keeps what it can't fix. It doesn't want to hurt you. It just doesn't know how to let you go." Lena backed away. "No. No, this isn't real. This is a psychosis. I'm dreaming. I fell asleep." Peter shook his head. "This is the only place you've ever really been awake." The walls of the room began to shudder. Like something huge and unseen was breathing around them. Each of the other Lenas began to hum the lullaby, slightly out of sync, voices dissonant. Peter stood up. "You can leave, if you want," he said. "But there's a cost." "What kind of cost?" "You'll forget all of this. You'll wake up in your apartment. Cat on your lap. Job intact. But the next time you hear the lullaby." He didn't finish the sentence. She understood anyway. She stepped closer to him. "Then show me the way out." He led her through a door that hadn't been there before. A stairwell. Rusted. Cold. They climbed 16 floors. At the top, an operating room, long abandoned. Surgical lights hanging like dead insects. And a hospital bed in the center. Peter gestured to it. "This is where you were found. 12 years ago. No ID. No memory. No injuries. Just this song playing on a loop through your earbuds." He handed her a recorder. "Press play." She did. It was the lullaby. Something moved in the corner of the oar. A figure. Another Lena. This one in a hospital gown, arms wrapped in restraints. She looked up and mouthed something. "Don't leave me here." Peter turned away. "The moment you lie in the bed, you go back to the world you remember. But she'll still be here. And if she wakes up again." He looked at her gravely. "She might become you." Lena stood still for a long time. Then climbed into the bed. She closed her eyes. Felt the recorder in her hand. Heard the hum of old lights. Felt the breath of the hospital around her. A presence like dust and sadness and memory. She awoke in her apartment. Warm. Cat asleep on her stomach. Her phone buzzed. New schedule, Holloway Regional, float shift, MED/SURG, 7 a.m., Nurse Tran, L. She sat up, slowly. In the distance, through the walls. A familiar song began to play. Faint. The lullaby. Room 616, Part 3, New Hire. Monday, 6:40 a.m. Darren Alvarez parked his car behind Holloway Regional. It was his first shift. Night float, med-psych hybrid. Not ideal, but the hospital paid better than most. And the recruiter was, oddly eager. "Just need a body on the floor," she'd said. "Don't worry, it's quiet lately. Last nurse left suddenly. Personal reasons." 7:15 a.m. His badge didn't scan. Security had to manually open the door to the East Psych wing. The guard, an older woman with clouded eyes, just stared at him and muttered, "You're early." "I'm scheduled," Darren said. She laughed, low and dry. "That's what they all think." 7:45 a.m. First strange thing, His assignment list included a room labeled 616, unoccupied. He joked to the clerk, "So do I just stand outside it and vibe?" The clerk, young, jumpy, didn't laugh. She quickly scribbled over the number and whispered, "You don't have to go near it. They just do that. For insurance. They." But she wouldn't say more. 8:30 a.m. Morning meds were delayed. Several patients asked, "Where's Lena?" When he said he didn't know her, they looked sad. Or confused. Or scared. She always checked the door first, one mumbled, pointing toward 616. "You're supposed to check. So it doesn't come open." 10:16 a.m. Darren walked by room 616. Just to see. It had no nameplate. No window. But he could hear something from the other side. Thump. 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 Like someone knocking. Slowly. From inside the wall. 2:30 p.m. A psych tech named Rosario found him at lunch. "You the new guy covering Lena's side?" "Guess so," Darren said. Rosario sat, serious. "Just so you know. That room? It shouldn't be assigned. Ever. If they give you a key, don't use it. If it opens, don't go in." "Why?" She looked around, lowered her voice. "Because this place doesn't forget people. It just holds on to them wrong." Then she left, as if she hadn't said anything strange. 4 p.m. He went back to 616. Just stood there, listening. It was quiet now. Then a voice, low, behind the door, whispered. "You have to check the bed, Darren." His name. No one had said it in front of the room. He stepped back. All the lights in the hallway flickered. 4:06 p.m. He reported it to the charge nurse. She stared at him blankly. "There is number 616, she said. "But." She turned back to her screen. He looked down at the list in his hand. Room 616 had been scratched out. The ink didn't look like pen. It looked like dried blood. End of shift. Darren went home. Showered. Ate. Tried to forget. But he dreamed of the door. It opened. Slowly. Groaning. Metal warping like breath. Inside was a hospital bed. With himself lying in it. The version in the bed whispered. "She's still humming, Darren. She never stopped." Then his eyes opened. And they were Lena's. Next morning. He came to work. Room 616 was sealed shut. But this time, a mirror hung on the door. Written in marker across it. "Which version of you came back?"